Reed.
This conference will now be recorded.
So, okay. All right, well, it's 2 o'clock. I appreciate everybody taking some time to join the call. Happy New Year to everybody. I think we've just got a couple of items we need to dispense with today. So with that, I will turn it over to Mr. Hefty for the first item on our agenda.
The lawsuit by Campbell and Lynchburg has been served on the authority. The answer is due on Monday. And as everybody knows, I've talked to Jeremy Carroll, who's representing the authority in the land gas case. He is willing to represent the authority in this case. And so there are really 2 issues. One is the authority willing to hire him to defend the case and at a rate of $200 an hour. And secondly, what position should the authority take? I know everybody's probably talked about this with their attorneys, and so I'll leave the floor up to the members to decide what to do.
Mr. Chair.
Go ahead, Reed.
So thanks, Bill, and thanks, Mr. Rogers. So I just want to say thanks to everyone for being here today. I know this is not necessarily the most fun thing to do on a Friday, so here we are. I just want to say, I know this has really been a very challenging subject for a lot of us, and it's been on our minds for quite some time. And frankly, this is really quite an awkward experience. We are the governing body of this such a critical piece of infrastructure for all of our communities. And unfortunately, we've not been able to agree on what I would really suggest is, a fairly straightforward administrative issue. So, this is all, to me, a little bit odd because we sort of find ourselves not only being representatives and advocates for our communities, but also looking out for the interests of the entire authority. So this is certainly a challenging thing. And part of what makes this challenging is that, Lynchburg, of course, as Bill said, is a plaintiff to this lawsuit. And so, it might seem reasonable that I might advocate for not even defending it. But I think that because this process has been so winding and in the last few months, and I think that probably the best way for this to all be resolved is through the court. I think the best way for that to occur is that.
Are you in there how to mute or unmute?
And I think that for that reason, it's certainly very critical that the authority hire an attorney to advocate for the interests of the authority. And certainly, as Bill said, he made a recommendation to hire Jeremy Carroll as a competent attorney to represent the authority in this case, and certainly we want to move this forward as fast as we possibly can, so that we get this resolved amongst our localities, so we can move forward. With all that said, though, I think that there is such an even split between members of the authority, and there's really a fundamental gap, and I don't think that's something that can be bridged at this point. And for that reason, I think that it would be unfair for all of us to instruct our attorney as to a specific defense. I think that, this is the awkward nature of this. I'm not inclined to advocate for one legal strategy over another. And so I think that I don't think that anybody really on the authority can do so. So I would say that we should ask for our attorney to ensure that we are operating in a position that meets the interests of the authority, but not any specific legal strategy. So with all that said, I have a motion that I've worked out with our city attorney that I'd like to say. So I move that the authority authorize the retainer of Jeremy Carroll to represent the authority in a lawsuit now pending in the Campbell Circuit Court, and further authorize Jeremy Carroll to file an answer representing only that the authority asks the court to take no action to the prejudice of the authority. Aside from the foregoing, Jeremy Carroll is not authorized to represent or further any position in court without a subsequent affirmative vote by the authorities board. And I'll have that as a motion.
Okay, thank you, Reed. I will go ahead and second that motion for the purpose of opening it up for discussion. Any discussion on the motion?
So it'll just be neutral. He's just going to respond and say, I'm responding on behalf of the authority, but no position either way.
That's right.
That was my understanding. Is that correct, Reed?
That's right. Yeah, I don't think to that point, I think that because we are so split on this, I don't think that we are in a position to advocate for one strategy.
Yeah, I've spoken to our attorney about it and I'm fine with it.
I would just like to present one question to Mr. Hefty. Is we have a document that clearly states that we may or may not distribute the languages in the document. So I know what you're saying, Reed, but I somewhat indirectly disagree because I think we have a document that spells it out, possibly its interpretation that we haven't been able to agree upon. So what exactly would this motion mean, Mr. Hefty?
It would mean that the answer that Jeremy would file with the court would say that we don't take a position, and the four parties can argue both sides of it, and so both sides will be adequately presented. The authority, Susan, in my mind, has never taken a position on the issue. The vote was 2-2 twice. And so there was no authority to pay the money based on the vote. But the authority has never voted one way or the other on what the language actually means. So the authority's never really taken a position. It's just sort of in the absence of a affirmative vote, the money hasn't been paid. So I think the best approach, I agree, the best approach is to say the authority doesn't take a position, let the court decide and let the four jurisdictions argue both sides of it.
So for clarification, this money would be operational money of the authority, and the authority prepared the document. Is that correct?
Which document?
The MOU in question.
Yeah, the authority prepared the MOU. I mean, basically, the documents speak for themselves. They say whatever they say. They are obviously subject to interpretation. We're asking the judge Campbell and Lynchburg are asking the judge to interpret it one way, and I assume Appomattox and Nelson are asking the judge to interpret it the other way.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Hefty.
All right, thank you, Susan. Any other discussion on the motion? Okay, hearing none. We've got a motion and a second. Just since we're Zoom, I'll just do this roll call, please. Susan?
Yes.
Steve?
Yes.
Reed?
Yes.
And I'll vote yes. Thank you all.
Thank
Okay,
you.
now we move on to some good news. Staff?
Clark, you want to take that one? You're on mute. Clark, you're on mute.
There we go. Sorry about that. Staff would recommend the use of $26,600 to provide a $1,400 bonus for our 19 services authority employees. We figured the cost of a 3% raise and proposed to divide it equally among our 19 full-time employees. There are no part-time employees. We recommend this bonus in light of the good work that our employees have done during the pandemic last year and likely to continue on into this year. We did not give a raise in July. We've never shut down. All of our employees have stayed healthy. No one has gotten sick, knock on wood. So they've been very careful at work and at home. Our tonnage exceeds last year's monthly tonnage every month so far this fiscal year. So we're doing very, very good financially. Our tonnage is up, and our tipping fees are, as you all know, are very, very low compared to other regions of the state and the country. So we recommend that the board consider approving this bonus. Funds would come from Schedule 2's contingency account line, leave a balance of $7,412 in that line item. We also have an $840,000 operational reserve fund that is used for unexpected expenses. Several other region localities have also approved bonuses for their employees. So the recommended action is to authorize the use of the $26,600 from the Services Authority contingency account, Schedule 2, for the payment of $1,400 to each of the current 19 services employees, with the thanks of the Services Authority for their dedication and good work. Thanks.
Thanks very much, Clark. I appreciate that. I also do appreciate all the work of all the staff at the Service Authority and everywhere else we're seeing folks really pitching in and going above and beyond with the unusual circumstances we're in. So in light of that, I'd like to go ahead and make a motion that we approve the bonus as proposed. Is there a second?
I'll second
I'd like
that.
to make a substitute motion.
Okay, we got a motion and a second. And Susan, you'd like to introduce a substitute?
Yes. What I would like to propose is that the full-time employees get a $1,000 bonus, which aligns with what Appomattox County employees receive. We didn't look at a 3% potential pay raise in July either. So that's why I feel like I can't support anything that's any greater than what my employees receive, because we never shut down and we had a continuity of operations as well. And I appreciate the authority members just as much as anybody, and I think they would appreciate the fact that we even considered anything for them. So my motion would be a $1,000 bonus for the full-time employees. My understanding there are no part-time employees.
Great, thank you. Okay, so we've got a substitute motion. Is there a second on that?
Second.
All right. So we got a motion and a second on the substitute, which I guess at this point we open up for discussion. Any discussion on the substitute motion?
Yeah, Nelson hasn't taken, they've considered a bonus, but no action. It's on our agenda again for next Tuesday. Not confident they will or they won't. Our school division and our service authority have approved $1,000 bonuses for their employees, $500 for part-time. So yeah, I'm more aching to vote to approve a $1,000 bonus than $1,400.
Thanks,
So
Steve.
I would, Mr. Chair, I would certainly prefer the 1,400, but I respect my colleagues on the board, and if that's how we can get to a bonus for the folks, that's a good thing. And so I will support that if that's what we can do.
Okay, thank you. Any additional discussion on this?
Yeah, and as all of you have said, I certainly appreciate all the good work that the authority staff do. It's not any issue for me. Yeah, bonus, I just more comfortable at this point with $1,000, and maybe we can do better next year. Who knows?
Fair enough. Okay, if there's no other discussion, we've got the motion properly seconded. And we'll do a roll call vote again. I'm sorry, is that somebody trying to weigh in there? Okay. So Susan?
Is this on the substitute motion, Frank?
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Clarification?
Yes,
Yes.
it is. Steve?
Yes.
Reed?
Yes.
All right, now I'm going to go ahead and say no. I'm good with the $1,400. We can afford it. I don't think we'll be able to do that next year. I appreciate everybody's effort, but the motion carries, and congratulations to staff. Thank you for all your hard work. All right, so Mr. Christie, that leaves us with the meeting schedule, correct?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I've proposed 4 meetings next year: January 27th, April 28th, July 28th, October 27th, all at 2 o'clock. The first few will be electronic, and we'll see how the year goes. At our January 27th meeting, we would have the first taste of the upcoming budget.
Thank you. Any discussion from the membership on those dates?
noticed on the agenda, sorry, Mr. Chairman.
That's fine. Susan, go ahead. You have the floor.
I noticed on the agenda that it had electronic meetings through July. And I wonder if we could just reconsider that, possibly do through April at the time that the governor's declaration is still in force. And then if it were to be extended, we would reevaluate.
Yeah, thank you, Susan. I was going to make that same point. I appreciate the expedience of the electronic meeting. It certainly helps resolve some of our difference of opinions about where we should meet. But I think having a meeting in person, particularly for folks to come and join us, is important. So I concur with Susan's suggestion there that we just flag it as electronic to April and then see where we stand. Steve, Reed, any objection to that?
That's fine.
Okay. So Susan, I hope I didn't misrepresent your spot. Otherwise, we're okay with the schedule as proposed, noting January and April electronic and the others sort of to be determined, correct?
Yes, if the other authority members agree with that, I'm very good with that also.
Okay. Gary, do you need any action from us on that, or is that direction enough for
As
you?
long as we have consensus, we're good. We do
Okay.
have consensus.
Thank you very much. I think that's all the business for the authority for today. And so with that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
I said,
All right, I count that as a motion. A second. All in favor? Aye.
aye.
All right, thank you all for your time. Have a good weekend.
Thanks, everybody.
Cheers to everyone.